All right. What's up, Charles?
Nothing much, brother. How are you?
I'm all good, bro. Considering. All right. All right. What's up, everybody? Aloha Friday. Sorry, I don't have my Aloha shirt tonight. Just just trying to rush and rush and rush. And sorry, guys. That's not really an Aloha spirit right now. But I wish all of you Aloha Friday. Thank you for joining us tonight. Got an interesting show tonight. Dr. Scott Miscovich will be on and get his insights on what happened today. Nice to see you, Charlie. That is a nice shirt. That's for sure.
Well, I'm just in a blase moment. But, such is life. But the good thing is, who's ever out there watching right now, I pray the good Lord that you're in good health and it stays that way. We are in some very, very troubled times. I mean, in epic proportions that we've never seen before. We've never seen before. Tonight, there's some questions I'd like to ask our good friend, Scott Miscovich, Dr. Scott Miscovich of the Premier Medical Group, one of the key experts in testing around the nation. And that's the word that we need to pay attention to a lot, and that is testing around the nation, because we have a lot of data here in the early days of what testing led to. And as you know, numbers were very low. But then everyone got confident and said, well, it seems to have blown over. And yet there were indications from other parts of the world that Delta was on its way. And, we do a lot of preparation when we have hurricane that comes to the islands. We start to prepare. We have a lot of preparation being done when there's a tsunami created by an earthquake somewhere in the Pacific. Yet we have a very, very harsh, I'm sorry for that sound. It's my iPad next to me, so when I finish this, I'm going to go turn it off. But then when we have a known variant that is 1,000 times more contagious on its way, we take very little, we take it very lightly. And you've said it before, Mel. The thing that we have to be careful of is once it's here, if it gets out of hand or out of control, do we have the means to bring it back into control? And as lay people as ourselves, Mel and I, we said, we don't think you got the, the know-how to bring it under control. We deal with it as case by case. But when you get many cases coming in one time, it's no longer case by case, it's army by army. And we fell short. We fell short of that goal of controlling it. So that's it.
Right on target as usual, Charlie. Navahine Noho Ukapu says, Aloha, Mel and Charlie. We can figure this out. Now that we know we are on our own, we can handle from here. That was one thing that was very clear today. First of all, the numbers came out. I think, was I surprised? No. The governor's press conference, was I surprised? I will say yes, because I didn't think that, I thought the numbers would have jarred them, but it didn't. So now we know we are on our own. You brought up hurricane, right, Charlie? You brought up tsunami. You brought up, that was one of the most disturbing things I heard today on the governor's press conference. They are relating this to a hurricane or a tsunami. And basically the message was, in the way I got the message was, we give up. We cannot stop it. So be prepared for your family members to get sick. Make sure you have people ready to take care of the people when they get sick. Well, let me tell you, when somebody gets sick, you cannot help them. You cannot go near them. They're isolated. This isn't a hurricane. This isn't a tsunami. You see, a hurricane and a tsunami is a natural disaster that we really cannot go in and stop it. It's going to come. This pandemic, this variant, this virus, we saw it coming like a hurricane, but we had an opportunity. We had an opportunity to slow it down and really restrict its movements once it got to Hawaii. And we opted not to do that. We opted to pretend like it was going to go away. We opted to say, we're not going to mess with the travel because that's our bread and butter. So now where we are here at 1,100 or 12, going on 1,200 cases, we throw in the towel and we tell everybody, hey, you guys are on your own. You guys make sure you get what it takes to take care of your sick families. That really irritated the crap out of me. Because that's your job, Governor, Dr. Char. That's your job to prevent the bulk of this virus from getting here. But you guys have given up. And now you guys have put it on the shoulders of the people. So we understand that. We know that we know the rule of the game. And I am not happy. They're still monitoring. They're still monitoring. 325 kids got sick last week in the schools. They're still monitoring. 1,100 cases today. We're still monitoring. We had one more death. God bless their souls, and we pray for the families of those that have been lost. There was one on Oahu reported, but the one on Kauai will be reported in 2 days because the state cannot even report their cases on a day-to-day basis. So it's our fourth fatality for Kauai, and they're still monitoring. What is there to monitor? It's so irritating. It's so frustrating. But we know now. We've known a long time, but today it was confirmed that the state has basically said, the governor has basically said, and Libby Char, you guys are on your own. It's up to you, not us. It's up to you all to change your behaviors, to change your ways of life. We need you guys to pick up the slack because we ain't stopping the visitors. We ain't stopping the travelers. We're not going to do anything with the travel. He did mention we're still considering some changes, but they have no plan. Like they have no plan for DOE, for the schools. You guys saw that. They didn't even go out and put out the bids for the testing for the DOE. They sent out the bids a week or so before the schools were to open. I have never seen something so bad in my entire life. And I've seen some crappy stuff, guys. And today it was made very clear that you guys are on your own. And it's unfortunate because not everybody will practice personal individual responsibility. We know that. That's just human nature. We'll still have gatherings. We'll still have all this transfer of this virus. But they're okay with that. And they're just going to sit back and continue to blame us because we aren't doing our job. And they are. As far as they're concerned, they believe they have done everything they can. And they are terribly mistaken. A simple thing like pre and post testing. What we know that works. I tell you, Alyssa, they failed the people. They did not give up. Remember that come election day. I couldn't have said it better, Alyssa, Hogan, Andrew. Thank you. So, Misco will be on. Dr. Miscovich will be on. And I don't know. I haven't spoken to him, but I know one thing. He is not happy. He is not happy.
Well, why don't we do this? We heard a lot of yowing already, but let's think of it this way. Let's say the people of Hawaii don't travel. I think this leadership fails to grasp onto this idea, and here it goes, Mel. Say the people of Hawaii follow the lead. Okay, we're not going to travel. We're going to stay indoors, right? Then tell me, with the virus that we have now, how do you plan on tackling it? If we, the ones who are getting blamed, don't do anything, we just stay put, right? Because you still have the virus here. That's the whole thing. We still have it here. Then what you gonna tell us? Is there another? Are they concocting another response to blame the local residents again because they completely run out of ideas? You see, we made fun of this before, but now it's become a reality. When you run out of ideas or when you run out of scientific approaches to stopping this virus, what's the easiest thing to say to get out of the situation? Community spread, right? You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything else. It's very easy to dump that line because why? Community spread can be what community? It can be all over the place. And I think it has brought a lot of pain and anguish because there are some people, I for one, have taken it very, very seriously that, man, I'm tired of getting blamed. I didn't even do nothing and I'm going to get blamed. So, like I used to say before when in my younger days, hey, you gonna make them complain on me. Well, let me give you something to complain about. Not just complain when I never do nothing. You want to make a complaint on me, then let me give you something to complain about. And that's what's happening here. And this leadership just needs to stop pointing the fingers. I mean, it's easy to point at the residents. Well, if you're that confident, then hey, call it out. Come on, let's start dropping some addresses. Let's start already. It's just like an idle threat, and I think people are getting tired of it now. I think people are getting tired of the idle threats because there's no action. There's no actions being taken by this government. I mean, actions would be okay because they were very, very easy to take action in the days where the numbers are real low. I mean, they started to implement this, they started to implement that. Okay, fine. Now, when you really need to implement something, no, we don't like implement anything.
I think the people are tired. I think the people are very tired. I think a lot of people, as I saw the comments today on the press conference, on the comments that was being, everybody's tired, everybody's angry, and that is one of the things. I had a talk with our sensei, our Yoda, Mayor Harry Kim today. And I'm glad I spoke to him before I did my live because he kind of settled me down. But this is exactly what he talked about, right? When he was on our show. It's we all fighting the same enemy. And why are we blaming? We should be bringing people together. We should be acknowledging the reality. And asking the public to help in the solution is one thing, but when you start telling people that it's your fault, that you guys need to change, and the people are not stupid, we all know. I mean, we had this exercise before, and we were able to fix it by some measures that, yeah, it caused some inconvenience. Yeah, it wasn't fun, but I remember back then we didn't even have a vaccine, man. We was working off a straight virus, and we were able to do it because the protocols were placed in place that forced this virus to die out, and they have that available as a weapon. They're choosing not to use it. They are choosing not to use it, and instead have just basically told the people, you guys got to fix it because we're not. We're done. We're monitoring. What the hell? Like Dr. Dworkin said the other day on our show, what are you guys monitoring? What trends are you watching? I mean, if 1,100 cases didn't wake you up, then what is? Well, it would be 2,000. Remember in Dr. Altenberg's presentation, which wasn't a prediction or a projection, it was based on the information that we had at the time. And if certain things didn't change, we were going to hit right. He called it, right? End of August, 800 cases a day. September, 2,000 cases a day. That's exactly where we're headed. In fact, it's only the 15th or 13th of August, and we're already at 700 plus a day. So why are our leaders not following the science of experts that have already proven that their methodology and their analysis are correct? And that's, I think, for me, the hardest thing to grasp, because Ige is an engineer. He's no stupid guy. He's not a dummy. Book-wise, book smarts, he's got to be. He's an engineer. But when you put them in a real world, you put them in the fight, the battle, you see a lot of this in the military where you get these high ranking officers. Yeah, they get all the smarts. They went to college, they get all the books, they all book smart, but then you put them in the field, real crisis, they cannot function. They cannot function. And what you're seeing every single day is the same thing, Charlie. What? Get your vaccine, social distance, everything, all of the directives that he has placed in is for the locals, the residents to do. There is not one restriction in there for the visitors. Every single, did you see the picture of the Chiefs luau last night? I don't know where that was, in Oahu or Maui or whatever. 1,000 people. What happened to the restrictions that you so proud that you had do? Yeah, your restrictions never do nothing. And I said this today on my live.
But nothing gonna happen. I won't tell you the reason why. Because none of them will be tested to find out if they got infected or not. See, that's the get out of jail pass. The get out of jail free card right there. No need to test them. You don't test them, we won't know the truth. Oh, but because we as locals, this is our investment. This island, this state is our home. That's how we would get tested. So of course, there will be numbers, but at least we find out, right? So we know how to take care of it from that point on. But no, they're using those numbers against us. They're using those numbers against us to say, see, well, just imagine if we didn't go get tested, right? Just imagine if we didn't go in, then we'd be just like the rest of the visitors. We'd be walking zombies with viruses. So anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. I mean, but it's the same message, right? And
Yep.
and this virus is now, has come on board. Wow, I just saw this guy in the news a little while ago.
Yeah, how's that? That was my warm up for you guys, my 21 KITV, so hey guys.
I saw your post about the dragons on the Games of Thrones or something. I don't know. I have not watched a single episode of that thing, so I don't know, but I can pretty much figure out what that means. But welcome,
Yeah.
Doc. Thank you for coming on last notice. Honestly, Charlie and I was going to take the night off. I had said we were going to bring my son and my daughter. My daughter's still not well enough to come on the show, so we're going to take the night off. But after that 1,100 plus cases, after the governor's press conference, I just felt the need that we had to bring someone on that can help us understand why we don't understand what's going on. So thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Well, and thank you guys for continuing to stand up to inform the public, because I think about it. Where's the voice of reality since that press conference? I'll tell you, I just sat here and I watched that press conference in disbelief, stunning disbelief. It was like, on one hand, you have poor Libby, very direct, very blunt, told the truth, came out, said the things that we've been talking about, everybody's been talking about. They're totally overwhelmed. They don't have contact tracing. They admitted what we talked about on the show for 2 months. Contact tracing is they hope they have someone to call you if you're positive. Then they tell you to try to call people. And that's if people don't supposedly yell at them. I mean, contact tracing is one of the most important things we're doing, and they're totally overrun, and they admit it. And that comment, which is the one that just really got me breathing fire, was when the governor's going off and his never answering a question with anything except we're looking at it, we're watching it. And she is like, our hospital's on fire. Our health system, it's past the breaking point. She was very honest about it. And she goes, I'm not a public health expert, but it's beyond that. The hospital employees, the people, we have none. We flew 500 people in just to support our overworked hospital workers. And we're at the breaking point. I don't know if you saw the news before, here's Mitch Roth nonchalantly saying, oh yeah, all our ICU beds are full in the Big Island, 100%, they're all full. But the answer is you go get vaccinated. Guys, it's a crisis. And then he did say very appropriately, I'm really worried if you have a heart attack or if you have a car accident, you're in trouble on the Big Island. What do we need to tell the leadership the crisis is here? It's what we've talked about on your show, and we've been having experts talk about for 2 months as Delta started to push. This is the day we were worried about. We heard forever people saying, oh, we're going to watch the number of ICU beds. We're watching the hospital beds. We're good. We're okay. That was the only measure the people of Hawaii were told we were watching, correct? Am I missing something? You guys know. That's it. Now we go like this. Hospital admissions are doubling, tripling in a period of 10 days. What's the parameter? What is it now? Sorry, guys.
We're monitoring. We're
Yeah,
monitoring. That's what we're monitoring. That's what we're doing. We're monitoring, and you know, I'll be honest, Doc. I'm actually physically nauseous right now, just thinking about where we're going to be in 3 days, in 5 days, when your loved one, God forbid, needs a hospital bed. And what? Are you still monitoring? And this is the problem, Doc. Even if we stop everything today, even if we stop travel, we put everybody in a lock, even if we did everything possible, there's so much virus on the island, in the islands, already here, that even if you were to pump the brakes, this virus still has to run its course. And our resources aren't going to grow. So I'm really, 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 really worried. And when I listen to the governor, and yeah, Dr. Char, she said, you heard her say, yeah, if we shut everything down, the case counts will go down. But she will not recommend that to the governor because it's a policy decision. And that's where we're having some issues. Our policymakers are living in another world that really is fiction. And as a result of that, people are going to get sick and people are going to die. And I get nauseous in my stomach when I talk about that.
Guys, you had, there are two people that have been, there's a small core of people I told you I turned to that I feel are experts. You have one of them on this show, and that's Lee Altenberg. And then there's another one that is just incredible, and that's Tim Brown. And then there's Jonathan DeWorkin, and then I really like DeWolf Miller as an epidemiologist. Those are the core group of people that I would turn to and sit down in a think tank. Look at the numbers that we've been presented by Lee. Look at what Lee has said to you. Look at what Tim just presented. Those guys are brilliant. They've devoted their time to study this right now. We know today's just spot incidence percent positivity was 13%. 13, we went from 8 to 13% in one day. Now, granted, you have to do a week long for the prevalence, but the bottom line is, as Libby did say, well, we're doing more tests, but the more tests we do, the more people we're finding with the disease. So what does that tell you you're doing wrong? You're not doing enough testing, number one. That's the simple thing. Number two, it tells you that your cases are here now, and in 2 weeks, they're going to be up here. We are seeing data with that doubling that our cases are going to double if you look at the math and statistics, unless you do something draconian. And then what do we know? Hospitalizations will follow that. We're already now committed with those numbers today to the hospital beds being that much higher over the next 10 to 14 days by nature of this disease. We're also already committed to having a 1.7% fatality rate, that we're going to have another 10 people die. What is the plan to stop it? What is it? Okay, I don't know. Charlie, did you hear any plan today? I don't know. Was I the only one listening that kind of maybe had the volume, maybe had to tilt my ear the wrong way to hear this is how we're going to do it, and this is how in 2 weeks we're going to do it in this way and this way? Basically, what I heard is it's all your fault. You watching the camera, you people of Hawaii, you made this happen. It's your fault because you didn't follow the rules and listen. And then number two, I heard, and don't count on us because we don't have any more resources. Don't count on the government because we don't have any police or law enforcement to enforce any of the rules that are supposed to keep you safe from COVID. And poor Libby, which I agree, the Department of Health is just overworked to the max. They probably need 5 times the number of staff that they do. So they're barely hanging on and they're overworked. We shipped in 500 nurses just to try to keep our major hospitals open. What am I missing here?
If you go to the Department of Health website to go apply to be a contact tracer, you know what message you get? You know what comes out?
No.
Due to the reduction of the program, we are not taking applications at this time. That was today.
Oh my God.
So they can all kiss my ass. Libby, I love her. Don't even know her. I really respected her, but they're not trying, Doc. I guess that's what I'm trying to. You can talk shit at your press conference all you want. But if you're not doing what you're talking about, then you shouldn't say it. You shouldn't say it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm pissed, as you can tell, and I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna watch.
We saw. I don't know what you guys think about what Scott Psyche came out and said, but I think it's really clear that the feelings that we're having are fairly common now across our state. And I know that Ron, Senator Kochi is, tight to you guys in the island, but I mean, it is time. It is time. I mean, guys, this is so far beyond a crisis right now. It's life and death is occurring and life is being altered forever. One of the things I'll bring up, and I thought you guys had a great show when we had our poor guy on the oxygen, and that was so terrific to watch him. And what a spirit he was. It was incredible. I watched every minute of it, and I shared that. But what we're not talking about, this is something now on my CNN time I'm dealing with national experts. We're estimating 8 to 10% of everybody who contracts COVID will be permanently disabled for life. 8 to 10%. The ongoing effects of COVID are going to be disastrous. The ongoing death that will occur from people who have to have an oxygen bottle with them and get recurrent infection or have cardiac damage from it is going to be significant. And we're not even talking about those people. So don't just focus on whether you live or die. Any of these 1,500 people today that contracted COVID, guess what? 150 of the adults may never work again, may not be able to go outside without an oxygen bottle. We have to really consider the effects of this disease and how broad it is going to be, and the years it is going to change the lives of families and loved ones, and our healthcare system and our disability system and payments and work and employers. It's just going to go on and on and on and on.
Well, the only thing I say is, any of you out there thinking about running for office, just remember one thing. Run on a platform that doesn't mimic what's happening now. And I can guarantee you won't get into office. Don't do what's happening now, because people are looking for answers, and there's a lot of common answers out there. And the thing is, I still say that we have data that shows that when we had, especially Kauai, when we had the lockdowns of arriving, both just traveling in general, right? When they came into the islands, it showed we kept those numbers down. Why it was lifted, I understand at the time, it looks like, hey, the numbers were low, but then you had that option all along. But the moment you opt back into the program, all those options went out the window. And I think that's the hard thing. I think what you're trying to say, Doc, is, there's so many options that we know that works, And why this government is not implementing any of those options is beyond me, it's beyond you, it's beyond Mel. It's just, it's baffling. It's baffling. So like they say, we put on all these measures, even if you buy a new car, right? They put more protections on the car today. Why? Because studies have shown that if it's not on the car and you hit a wall, you can seriously get injured or even die. So they put on airbags, right? That's a safety measure. Well, we know what's happening now, and we know what safety measures work, but for some reason, they don't want to implement those safety measures. That's just the bottom line.
The other thing, do you see anywhere, and I know his demeanor, anywhere in the governor that he views this as a crisis? So you guys know I've become really close with Mayor Kim, and we talk multiple times. I think he's going to be on next week with you guys. And he and I go back and forth, and I'm kind of like his medical sounding board, and he's my leadership, and he's got that incredible background of both being a mayor and being in charge of an island that has had so many crises nonstop with his career that, we both talked about it. And he's like, well, okay, well, what can I advise the governor? He calls the governor. He talked to the governor 45 minutes this morning. And his comment was, I told him a month ago, and I've been telling him ever since, it's a crisis time. It's time to pull your leadership team in. We're now in the time where you should be working 7 days a week, Governor. That's what he's told me. And then he said to me, okay, what do we do? And I said, hey, if I was in a leadership, I agree with you. Tomorrow morning, I would have every one of my leaders in that office, including the hyena team, and I would let everybody know, cancel all your plans. We're going to be here till Monday morning, nonstop, until we come up with a plan that reduces our numbers from where they are to 75% less by 1 month. I want a plan, and I want it on my desk. And then what you do, because you know what, guys? You can do it. I could sit here on half hour and scribble it out for you as could some of the other people. It's not that hard to do, to come up with a plan. Then you have to do the logistics of implementing it, which, could be a challenge, but it's a crisis. It's a hurricane, a tsunami, a fire, a tornado, all at the same time. And, basically that's what needs to be done. He needs to take it serious. He needs to pull his leadership in. He needs to sit down and he needs to come out with a plan. And then, what he needs to do? Instead of coming to a camera and saying, we're working on it, we're looking at it, we're studying it, look at the people of Hawaii in the eye and go, step 1, step 2, step 3. This is what you do. This is what we do. This is why this works, because the data shows that. And you basically present people with a cogent plan. And understanding this is Delta variant, and understanding there are a few dynamics that if we see that the numbers still go up, he has to be honest and look us in the face and tell us the ultimate thing we have to do is potentially go back to a lockdown. We all know that. Everybody in this island knows that. That's the answer if we really want to get under control. But it never even really came out that we're even considering that. And that's pretty scary to me because, most of us would say that we're already at that point. When you have a big island that has no beds left, what else do we need? The big island should go on lockdown, right? The big island should shut down right now. And there should be testing everywhere and everybody should stay home. What else can we say? Maybe you guys know your island, but what else can we say?
That's absolutely correct. And I just want to address Joseph. He said, what's wrong with you people? Start talking about the therapeutics that work instead of this doom and gloom. Joseph, first of all, mahalo for watching. We welcome everybody's opinion. I just want to let you know why. There's 2 tracks to take. This show has taken the track of being proactive versus reactive. That's as simple as that. We don't want to have to treat people. We want people to not get COVID. And the ones that do, unfortunately, yes, they will be treated. But we have taken the position that we should be proactive. And please don't take that in the wrong way, Joseph. I appreciate your comment, appreciate you here, but I'm just letting you know why we bring on experts to talk about stopping the virus from infecting people, not treating people and watching them die or watching them get extremely ill. That may be another show, I don't know. But our show is about being proactive. And that takes me right to your point, Doc. What we're seeing today, 1,100 cases. Now, had we put that plan that you talk about that was never presented, never created 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when they kept asking the governor, what's your threshold? What's the number? We don't really have a number. It really comes down to hospital beds and deaths. But had we taken this seriously 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't be here today. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? If we had taken the action that was warranted back then, when we were at 200 cases a day, 300 cases a day. So now we're at 1,100 cases a day in a very short period of time, and there still is no plan. And we're still. What are you waiting for? There needs to be a trigger for you to get off your Okole. That trigger was triggered about 3 weeks ago, and you never got off your Okole. So now we are struggling. Our nurses, our doctors are in a crisis mode. So, Joseph, I hope I answered your question, man. Again, I'm not here to pick on anybody. I just want to let you know that we have always taken the position of being proactive. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Let me do answer, since his question came up, just to be fair. Joseph, right now, there is one major thing that I wish we would have at every corner in the state of Hawaii, and that is monoclonal antibodies. The studies that came out concerning monoclonal antibodies have now shown that we have CDC and FDA approval for getting a sub-Q injection or an IV. If you're a family member and you're serious and someone in your family gets COVID, it is now indicated for not only they can get it, but you can get it to prevent you from getting severe COVID. And monoclonal antibodies now are being given in the outpatient basis to people to prevent them. Now, here's the reality, Joseph, as a doctor. Guess what? The insurances are already kicking and screaming, saying, well, we need more guidelines. It's got to be pre-approved. And it's $1,500 to $6,000 per injection. But that is magic right now. That is something that we do believe as medical providers, monoclonal antibodies should be very ubiquitous, especially to prevent people from progressing as an outpatient to becoming seriously ill. And think about that. It is approved now for preventative treatment if you've been a first-degree contact to someone. So now there's a lot of funny stuff this week. I've seen all kind of things, gargling and putting iodine in your nose. Is it going to hurt you? Probably not, right? But it's not going to be the pure panacea that we have to say is the major preventative. I look at things that have been studied and proven through longer term studies. Monoclonal antibodies have really passed the snuff. There's trials in Israel and there are trials in the United States for, I believe its initials are CD24. It's a type of medication that stops the what we call the cytochrome storm, and it's having very good promise in early phases to get it early on in people. It hasn't fully been passed. It's only small trials, but those things are out there. There will continue to be research for things that can help. So that answers this question, hopefully. But to go back to what our points are, we need to find a way to stop the curve from doing this. We need the curve to be able to first flatten and then drop. That's what we're talking about, Joseph. That won't stop the curve. You're treating people after they've been infected or contacted. We need to prevent them from ever getting the disease. And that's where there's no plan at all.
Well, one thing that I did hear, that is, if we are at a critical stage where hospitals are full, everything is being diverted to other hospitals that are full, then I don't know where you can get the treatment, right? Because it's getting to that point. And so no matter what's out there, Do we set up mash units? Probably, right, Doc? I see in the mainland, that's what they're doing. They're setting up crash units using uh, just like a mash outfit. But
Yeah.
the question for Hawaii is, we're limited in the resources as far as human intervention, right?
That's it.
We're
That's
we're
it.
lacking we're lacking that. So we can set up all the tents and crash units we want. If we don't have that human aspect to it,
Yeah, two sides to it. Number one, I've kind of heard the rumor mill and the Coconut Wireless shows that Haima is already kind of working down in Blaisdell as an alternative, right? But then the second issue is a couple of points. Dallas just had to get 2,500 nurses brought in to their hospitals. Okay, we're getting 500 brought in. There's only so many. It's not like there's this limitless spigot of people sitting around saying, okay, well, I'm just sitting here unemployed as the pandemic's going around and I'll wait till someone calls me. No, every live body is out there working. And so you guys are right. And that's what we're seeing across. The other thing, and I bring up Dallas because I have friends there and I have people down there, their pediatric ICU beds are full. 100% in all of a city the size of Dallas right now. And that segues over to another serious issue. The slope in the last 3 weeks of pediatric admissions is off scale. It's truly an exponential rise. And so for us to think about our children, we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic because this can affect children and it is putting children in the hospital. And it is putting children in the ICU. And we do have limited capacity for pediatric beds. Fortunately, we're not getting them pushed. But one of the things that Dallas came back and said is that we're just pushed to the capacity with staff. We could recreate other pediatric beds. We just don't have the bodies to do it. And last time I looked, we're the most remote island chain in the planet. And people aren't just driving next state over to come and help us out. And so manpower is going to be, and it has to be one of our crucial things that we have to discuss.
Great segue to the next topic, Doc. Man, half an hour went by already. You mentioned the pediatrics, the cases that have been popping up. We've been seeing a lot of kids in hospitals now, much more than we've ever seen. What's your thoughts on schools? I am concerned. I am extremely concerned that we have painted the picture for everyone about how dangerous it is to be in gatherings. And then I saw on the news tonight, the HSTA vice president, I think there was a principal from one of the schools that says he goes home at night and he really cannot sleep because he's so concerned about the safety of the kids. We know that when you put 32, 33 kids in a classroom that was designed for 20, that you're not going to get even 3 feet distance. Why are we not taking care of our kids that are in school? I said today on my live, and I had 2 calls after that from parents asking me further why I felt that. And I wouldn't send my kid to school right now. I would not send my kid to a classroom that had 30 people, 30 kids that were sitting less than 3 feet apart. I just wouldn't do it. But I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts have transitioned. These numbers that we're seeing now and the lack of any direction or leadership from the governor has basically made me very secure that we should be shutting down. I don't have any question in my mind. Look at what we have. Look at their numbers today. And you guys probably are smart enough. You saw that we have published that there was 386, and that doesn't even include today's numbers. Of the numbers this week, that many were in schools. So we're already seeing that first surge. Well, we're going to see those graphs paralleling. The kids go back to school and go up. Now, how can I be sure of that? Well, 2 reasons. Number one, as a physician here for 30 some years, one of the things that was guaranteed was when the kids went back to school, flus went up, strep goes up, mono goes up because of this. They're together, and that's where disease spreads. Well, people might counter and say, oh, but we didn't have a bad flu season last year. The kids are going to wear masks. Well, you guys have heard me say this. I've been saying this for too long. And that is, we should have focused on the masks in the children. I said we should have taken all that federal manna from heaven that fell down, all that money, and bought all these kids the appropriate size masks to come back to school. Because you know what? If you're wearing one of those blue surgical masks, there's 3 sizes at least below that you could get to appropriately fit a first grader. I really wonder how many first graders or second graders have appropriately fitting masks that stop them from breathing other people's respirations. It's not the parents' fault. It's how do you know what to do? How do you know where to get it? And people have stylish ones and they have cloth masks or they don't change them or something. You know, we should have, if we were going to force our kids back to school, we should have given them some guidance on the number one thing that helps. And CDC again has said masks over hand washing or social distance. Masks are it. So when you put 33 kids in close quarters for that short period of time with the infectivity of Delta variant, it's going to spread like crazy. Because let's face it, the kids are going to go outside, they're going to take their masks off to eat. That's where it's going to spread like crazy. And are you telling me that the school aides and the teachers and things are going to go to the kids? No. Now you have to eat by yourself and you have to stay 10 feet away and you go here and you go there. No, kids are kids. We can't control that. So yeah, with these numbers that are spiking, I think we need to put a little pause. We need to pull our kids because it is inevitable. The 386 is going to be 3,086 before we know it.
Well, I would like to also say that to some of the viewers, yes, I am not sleeping. I am just I guess tonight is one of the few times I get lost for words. But you know, when Mel first brought up this subject about schools, I got up very early this morning. Why? Many of you out there know that I'm the new security chief down at the Lihue Airport, but I also help out a good friend who has the contract for the DOE on disinfecting these classrooms. And because now there's a client, guess who does Kauai disinfection or COVID? You're looking at them right now. So if I start in the morning, that means my day starts at 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning in Waimea. So I can get to that classroom, disinfect, get it dried out, and get it ready so the kids can go back to their classes in a safe environment. That's what I do. So these are the kind of things that kind of baffles me, because when I leave the schools and I go to my regular job, I'm there, and every hour on the hour, we have new arrivals. And it's like herding cattle. I mean, just droves of people coming out. But give credit where credit is due. They got their mask on. The only thing is, I don't know how disciplined they are, because I can tell you one thing, when they're standing to get their luggage coming off the carousel, there is no 6 foot distance. Everybody is like shoulder to shoulder. So, you know, while you get something that goes good on one end, you still have the bad on the other end. And as they say, sometimes a little will fall through the cracks, and that's what happens. Some will fall through the cracks, and next thing you know, they'll start to spread, and it just gets out of control again. But you said it the last time, Doc, you were on. Not enough testing. So we know that local people will test. Why? Because they're invested in their home islands, right? They're invested. They're residents here. Visitors are not. They like to come, enjoy, and go back. But we won't know if they came and deposited, or we won't know if they were sick, or we won't know if they came in contact. We know that this is a highly transmissible, right, virus. And because those numbers are so high, we don't know how many people locally, based on working in a fast food place, working in a restaurant, working in a hotel, right? They're coming in contact with many local residents. And we don't know. Look at the airport workers. They come in contact with all of these people coming off the plane. I looked at one report today, just today alone. I've never seen that numbers before. Hawaiian Airlines, 64 tested, 48 tested positive. But they don't tell you if they're ramp people. They don't tell you if they're flight agents. They don't tell you any of that. But they're positive.
Okay, so let me ask you guys, what do we do? What do we do with tourism? What do we do? I mean, did you guys notice how there was nothing? It was like, only 2% of the disease is caused by tourists. And everything was like the papa looking at you, you did this. This is community spread. This is all your fault. You didn't wear your masks. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? You know, like a place like Waikiki, which has when it's fully populated like it is with the workers, it has almost a population density equivalent to Mumbai. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's very close to it. Give me a break. And then just look at the pictures of people walking down there, no masks. Well, guess what? All of our friends and family are down there working, supporting that in the middle of that horde of people. And you can't tell me that part of this is not coming from the visitor industry, right?
Hey, I guess Laura says, wow, I'm the continent of the USA and the world. We know COVID is a fraud. You know, I sometimes God sends trolls to our page, and I don't block them because, you know, I think it's entertaining. Because, you know, if I turn the channel on a TV that show I'm not happy with, then I just change the channel. But if you want to punish yourself, Laura, and watch, the moment you get personal against anybody, you will be blocked. But you can say whatever you want. We accept all your comments. But once you go personal, you're done. Anyway, I thought that was classic. You asked, what do we do? You know, prior to today, my plan was, and I posted my plan, was obviously reinstate the pre and post testing. The pre-testing is important because you prevent people from getting on the plane. They know they're positive before, then they're gone. The post-test, 4-day, you get quarantined. After today, and then there was other things, right? As far as everything else. But today, and I'm asking you, Doc, what do you think? I honestly believe we got to go to a 2-week stay at home to stop this current surge. Stop them. You do the 2-week stay at home. And stay at home, I spoke to my good friend, our sensei, Harry Kim today, and he said, make sure you clarify, you're gonna, because we had this discussion, and I said, you're gonna stay home order, you still gotta provide the people the opportunity to get out of the house and exercise. Hey, Harry.
Colin.
Is he on?
Hey.
Oh, he's calling, yeah.
Hi, Harry. Okay, I'm on with Mel and Charlie, so I'm on live with them. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Does he want to come on?
So
He
but
would. He was telling me he just watched a replay of me on KITV. He wanted to talk to me about my KITV piece. So he'll come on, man. I could call him. He'll come right on.
Yeah, no, he's going to be on Monday.
Yeah.
I really, and there's no offense to the mayor, but I really wanted to give you the time, Doc.
No. And he
there's
deserves
a lot of.
He's so special. He deserves this.
But he was very concerned about the mental health of people, and he's right that we did it before. I told Mayor, we did it before. We allowed people to go out, walk their dogs, go to the beach. They could go exercise. They could do those things. We're not locking them in a house. But I tell you what, if this doesn't stop, we are going to end up being locked down. I mean, everybody locked down. So right now, after today's numbers, after today's looking at the hospitalizations again climbing, I think right now, 2-week stay at home, of course, with the caveat that you got to be running around, you get to go out. And Tyson said, I think it has to be 3 weeks. And you could be right. But, and then the second component is you got to implement the pre and post test. Now, this is the question I have for you, Doc, because you are the testing expert, the most intelligent testing expert I know. I thought of I had an idea the other night that rather than put a person on quarantine and test on the day 4, what if we test them every day? What if they come into the hotel and I'm talking about residents too. Residents, you have a home to go to. You test obviously to make sure you're not going to infect your family and your friends or your workplace. But for the visitor that comes in, and I'm a big boy, you can, constructive criticism is welcome. Every day you get a rapid test. Every day you get a quality rapid test. Day one, negative, you're free to do what you do. Day two, negative, you're free to go where you want to go. Day three, positive. Well, at that moment, you're going to be isolated, but we only got to track you for the last, between that time and the last test that you took. Now, I could be way off base, but
No,
I'm trying to, I think if we did that, I believe the numbers would drastically drop because we would identify and isolate all of the positives that are coming in off of travel. The quarantine, for me personally, I like the 4-day quarantine because it'll discourage travel, but I know the governor will never do that because he's connected to the hip with the industry. But if we test it every day with a rapid test that really is accurate, and once they pass their 4th day or 5th day of testing, they're done. What do you think?
You just described the most qualified testing regimen that we have been working with in the United States. It goes back to a Dr. Michael Mina from Harvard who has professed this, and it's become true. That's how you use antigen tests. So do you know what you just described? You just described the protocols I designed for the US Olympics. I was testing those Olympians every single day, right? That's what we did in Tokyo for our Olympians. Every day they were getting a rapid antigen test. So when I was doing the Olympic testing, the only thing I did different is I would do PCR, rapid, then PCR, rapid, because there was so much at stake. We pushed the PCR and mixed it in. But from a budgetary standpoint, if you did rapid every day, that's why you do rapid, because you find exactly when someone is spiking with what's called their cyclic threshold, and you cut your contact tracing down, you cut your ability that there has to be a broader circle done, looked at, and that's what is happening in the country. I'm designing programs all over, and that's when people. I just got called today by Estee Lauder all over the world has asked me to help them with a program, and they have wanted to have their 100% COVID-free zone. And one of the things I told them is exactly that. If you really want to do that, then you go to daily testing. Otherwise, 3 times a week is going to give you still quality information, but you have that 1 day of missing and 1 extra day of contact tracing. And you know, the nice thing is, first of all, quality tests. There's a bunch of hucksters out there trying to sell tests that aren't for this, right? Only certain tests have been approved to do asymptomatic screening, asymptomatic surveillance testing, versus the antigen tests are made and only approved for if you have cough, cold, or symptoms. Big distinction. So there are about 8 or 9 that are approved for surveillance testing. And they are so now priced that the price points, when we were doing it over the Big Island, they were $45 a piece. They're down to $10 a piece. So you tell me a tourist wouldn't be willing to pay $10-15 extra to come to Hawaii to know that they can come, not be quarantined, and be safe? Hell yeah, they would do it. That was the attraction to Hawaii. We're safe, right? So
if it's $20 a test, you're going to test them for 4 days. You spread them over their vacation of 5 or 6 or 7 days. It's less than $20 a day, man. And
sure.
If they don't want to pay that, guess what? Stay home.
Yeah. And you could put, we could get you trained hotel workers, get more of them back to work, put it in, do the staff, do them, and everybody could be self-contained. You could be self-contained to do it, and have an app that shows you're good. And when you walk into a restaurant, you flip your app up and it shows you have a big green check mark. Yeah, I'm good. I've been tested. If you don't get your test, don't come into our restaurant. Don't infect our people. Maybe you're going to go hike up in the mountains or in the coalhouse or something, but don't come in and infect everybody else. So.
Very, very good.
That idea was I didn't know about the Olympic testing protocol. I would, Charlie's my witness. We're thinking out loud actually, and that's where it just makes sense to me that we would allow them to enjoy the islands, but at least when you ask someone who did you come in contact in the last 7 days, you ain't gonna remember. But if you ask someone since yesterday 2 o'clock when you took the last test, where did you go? So much easier to control. So much easier to control.
And there's an app right away that you could push the results of the test to that basically shows it. We have the app, we use it in the Olympics. It's ubiquitous. So it's made here in the state of Hawaii. It's easy. I mean, there's so much technology that can do this. And it's safe. It's safe. That's what employers, big businesses, that's what, well, Estee Lauder is trying to do. They're doing 3 times a week testing in all their factories, all their factory workers, because they can't get the factory shut down. Big conventions that have to come together, big corporate business meetings, they're doing daily testing.
Well, I will say that, for those of you that wanted to know, at the airport, if anyone that travels that comes here, they don't have their test or their vaccine card uploaded, guess what? They call us in. We escort you to the airlines you just came in. We go to the counter, you buy a ticket, and we put you back on a plane and you go back where you came from. That's what we do.
Wow.
We have to be serious. We take it very, very serious. So that's why my poor guys, I shouldn't say my, because we're all in this together, but that's our contribution of trying to keep Kauai safe. And I know the other airports are doing the same as well.
I thought you were going to say you took them back in the.
This is a family show.
I just thought he was going to say just kick their ass a little bit and said, "Don't you ever come back here."
Well,
I resort to what is called de-escalation. I am with one. I will de-escalate.
Doc, you got to come on the pre-show. Before I hit the go live button. That's who we have.
Don't share the secrets too early.
Oh, man, yeah, no. Yeah, I want to come on the pre-show when I come over for a weekend, sit down and have a beer.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's the other problem. And you mentioned it, Doc, about in the press conference talking about the lack of resources. And he's right. We don't have police officers and people that can go out and check quarantine. But remember, we still have that option. Visitors still have the option to come to Hawaii and not take a test, not have a vaccine, and agree to quarantine. And that there's no one enforcing the quarantine anymore. There's no one enforcing the quarantine. So Charlie catches them, they go back on the plane. But if they have made that arrangement already, that they're not going to test and they're not going to be vaccinated, or have a vaccine card, then they're coming here knowing that they're going to be quarantining, and but no one checks, and they already know that.
Yeah,
they already know that. So
that's.
But now let me ask you a question, Doc, and you be honest with me. I don't want to put you on. See, I'm drinking water tonight because the coffee was way too much for me tonight. But I'm going to ask you this and put you on the spot, and you need to tell us because this is the $1 million question. Is it true that this virus knows the difference between a visitor and a returning resident, and the virus will not infect the visitor? It will jump on the returning resident. Is that true with this virus?
Only if you were in Las Vegas. Only Vegas, So yeah, it's totally, or if you were at your son or daughter's volleyball tournament or baseball tournament, that, for sure. No, come on, man. I mean, I hear that kind of stuff and it's like, and you local residents, you're going on vacation and you're bringing it back here. What's the difference between all these people who are getting their $99 or $129 or $149 one-way flight and coming here, and then they're finding that they can go to bars and restaurants? Come on, man. It's like, when I see the leader of our state blaming the people of Hawaii, it really bothers me because you know what? You and I, this is our home. We've been here forever. I trust the people of Hawaii. I've been all over the country. You know what? I'll take the people of Hawaii following rules and following guidelines in any other freaking state I've been in across the country. So don't blame the people of Hawaii for this. There's a lot more to it. Number one, it's called the Delta variant. And number two is I basically had other talks with my colleagues today. I said this, that May 13th is going to live as a day in infamy. And I don't want to say that in disrespect to the people who lost their lives at Pearl Harbor. But that is the date that the disastrous announcement came out by the CDC that said, guess what? If you're vaccinated, stop wearing your mask. Because right now, there is probably 50,000 lives or more that are lost because of that unbelievable statement that from the day it happened, all of us were like, what did they just do? And guys, I'm cruising all over. I'm testing the Olympics. I'm finishing up the SEC. Where am I? I'm all through the South and areas where they were already not necessarily wearing their masks and their vaccination rates are low and they didn't believe in COVID. Nothing. No masks anywhere. Bars full, lines full, everything. And I just looked and my mind looks and goes, how many of these people are going to die because of that? We have like thousands of people in the streets and none of them are wearing masks, yet the vaccine rate when I was down there was 17%, 18%. So, 1 out of 5 could not wear it. That is a massive problem that occurred. And so I look at the people of Hawaii. I do want to say to them again, please, wear your masks indoor, reduce your gatherings, go back to where we were when we were the best state in the United States. Use the trade winds, use outdoors, go back to treating this like whether you're vaccinated or not, go back to acting the same. That's what we got to do. Protect, it's going to start with community and family. And guys, I want to say this because I know we're eventually going to run out of time here. When I heard today that the mayor goes, or the governor goes, well, we don't have any resources, don't count on us. As I'm talking to like my team on the Big Island and my team here in Windward and things like that, I think what we're going to have to go back to is, what happens if there's a natural disaster? The community comes together, right? The community comes, they feed their neighbors. They help clean up, the damage or anything like that. I think we're going to have to get back to a point where we're going to have to come together as community and as people and pick up where our government can't support us. And whether it's having volunteer contact tracing or perfect. You heard Libby, and I believe her. We have no quarantine facilities left. If your neighbor has COVID positives, let's come together and help send them food over. Let's help do their shopping for them. If you got a distant spare room that you're not using and you're safe and you're vaccinated, be extra safe, maybe we can offer them a room in the house. But I think we're going to have to get back to where the community is going to help each other because it's clear as of today, don't ask the government for any help. We're on our own. And I would be interested and push different community leaders and community organizations to step up, to organize, and let's talk about ways we can come together to support each other, just as we did before with any natural disaster, or we did 100 years ago when we needed each other. I just think that's what's also going to take us over the edge.
Let's do a cutaway with just this thought. Doc, you helped my daughter, you helped a lot of her friends when we had that outbreak at OCCC, and they came to see you. You did the testing. You were able to get a pretty rapid handle on it. In conjunction, some of them use a good friend, Dr. Tripovsky as well. But, for those out there, and the reason why I say it's a cutaway, if you look at the community, yes, they're behind bars. But if any place is going to spread, it's going to spread inside there because they're in tight quarters, right? They were able to bring that spread under control. If we just look at that tight community and just take a small portion of that and just replicate that on a larger scale, it will take effort to do that. But as long as you can do that, we should get the same results. But the thing is, this government is not even getting close to doing something like that. And that's what's bothersome. Because as you've always said, you have studies from here, studies from there. We have data from Kauai. We have data. You use the data that you had on the Big Island as well. You have actual data that shows that if we took these measures, this is the result it will yield. And it's favorable results, right? So I would think in this day and age right now, as we speak, this thing is getting out of control. We will want some favorable results, but nobody's willing to roll the dice on that favorable result and how to get it. And that's the thing that's very hard for me personally to understand. Why not, right? If my car is making all these sounds, why wouldn't I want to take it to the best mechanic to try to fix it, right? Or if my car is under warranty, why don't you take it back to the dealer and try to fix it instead of just keep on driving it down the road until it completely breaks down? It just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's what happened. For some reason or another, I don't know what it is, but it's just like you say, we got Libby on one end. She's strictly, Libby is Libby. And she's just straightforward as a physician. Then you got politicians who are trying to be like physicians when they shouldn't be. That's part of the problem, right? You're playing this political role with a pandemic. To me, pandemics should never allow politicians to get involved. You bring all the evidence to them so they make the final decision, not have them dictate what should be done, this and that. Because if they get into a position that they got to make some really hard decisions, I can tell you, they're not. Proof is in the pudding. Leave it up to the medical professionals. Leave it up to the experts. That's what I say. Am I off base there, Doc?
No, spot on. Spot on. I don't think, I just don't feel like the governor's listening to Libby or any of his medical advisors. I mean, we know that the mayor of Oahu stopped listening to his medical advisors. I can tell you, same thing. Mitch Roth, nary a medical advisor talking to him. The standard talking point is, you guys, I don't know if you watched Mitch's interview. In the first sentence, before he finished the first sentence, he said, all the numbers are still, those numbers are really serious. And it really emphasizes the fact that we should all get vaccinated.
Mhm.
Okay, great. We know that. I agree 100%. We all need to get vaccinated. That is how we're going to end up having this happen. But how about a plan to stop the crises now? Because we already know people are not going to run and all get vaccinated tomorrow. How about a plan? So how about a plan to take us from where we are? That is something cogent. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And let's talk about our kids. How do we protect them? How do we protect schools? And you know what? I own companies. I want it by Monday. Oh, I'm the governor. Give it to me by Monday. Come on. Let's get the urgency out there. Let's let Haima have a little bit of work again. He's pushed Haima, just into the corner right now, and they have nothing to do and no involvement. Come on, how much of a crisis do you need right now? So, and again, if our good senator, who again I'm a fan of, is sitting there or has anybody or friend, please, I think it's time for the legislature not to just have a hearing. It's time for the legislature to come together and this is what the powers of government are supposed to do. The executive branch is now not protecting the people of Hawaii. So let's get the legislative branch to try to step up and to try to help protect the people of Hawaii, right? As we see, lawyers are pushing it to the judicial branch. Whoa, we're going to sue because we don't want people to get vaccinated. You know, give me a break. Yeah. But,
Let me kind of read this that just came over the wire here. And you can comment on it, because I heard about it, where the booster shots available for those who have that immunocompromised, right? Okay, so it says, those who are eligible and would like to get a booster shot immediately can do so at the following: Hawaii Pacific Health COVID-19 vaccine clinic locations open this weekend. So on Oahu, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching from Oahu, Kapolei High School, Friday, which was today, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you still, well, it's already passed. And then you got tomorrow, Kalani High School, from 9:30 in the morning to 4 p.m. And then on Sunday, the 15th, at Waipahu High School, from 9:30 to 4. Here on Kauai, we have Wilcox Medical Center tomorrow, August 14th, 9:30 to 11:30, and Hanalei Neighborhood Center tomorrow, the 14th, noon to 3 p.m. So if you're eligible for that booster.
oh, great segue. Let me fill in the gaps, because we're getting called by this all the time. Okay, everybody, listen to this group. If you have a cancer, had a cancer, any kind of immunocompromise, any kind of chemotherapy, I don't care what it is. You had a cancer, line up and get it. Number two, if you've been on or are recurrently on chronic steroid medications for any kind of medical condition, go get it. Number three, if you have things like different types of rheumatoid arthritis and you're taking specific medications, including methotrexate, some of the antibiologics, or some of the specific anti-inflammatories for rheumatoid arthritis, go get it. And the 3% of the US population fits the category of being immunocompromised. So, you know, that's a pretty broad definition. Now, here's the other thing I want to say. It's not going to hurt you. Call your doctor, ask your doctor. If there's even any remote question that you're immunocompromised or not, and you've been told that, go get the shot, okay? Err on the side of getting it. It will not hurt you. The studies are all out there. I could spew, you're in my wheelhouse now. I could spew off 5 or 6 studies from the transplant patients. By the way, transplant patients, hopefully all your docs have already put you on, and you should have already had your 3rd, maybe 4th shot if you're a transplant patient. But you know, anybody who even thinks they have this kind of condition, please get it. Now, I'm also going to tell you, it's a great segue, man. We work well together here. We just had Israel approve, if you're over 50, they're offering booster shots, and all frontline healthcare workers. In my opinion, and I've said this on my CNN time, it is time for the USA to get off our butts, and we should have the same thing, at least start with over 65. Because we know the immunity is going to wane in the people over 65, and they're at much higher risk. And our frontline healthcare workers are getting a lot of breakthrough infection, and that's going to happen. And our first responders, and then the people that are frontline. And generally, as Dr. Fauci said the last 2 days, everybody's going to be offered a booster here before long. But as the tiers go, we have to take care of the people who are going to have the most compromise, and the immunocompromised are black and white. And if I had a parent that was over 75, boy, I would be just pacing the floor waiting to get them their booster shot right now. Okay.
Doc, how long after your 2nd shot are you, should you wait before you get the booster? And I know there's a lot of you asking about specific conditions. I'm just going to say, contact your doctor to see if you fit in we'll be here till 10 o'clock, just going over all these different situations. So, but generally, after your 2nd shot, how long do you have to wait to get the booster?
Um, I think right now we're talking the shortest period would be 1 month to 5 weeks, right? So it would be the same period. And a lot of people ask me this question: is it a special? It's exactly the same shot you got before. It's not a special dose. It's not a special amount. It's just a third shot. Okay, just so that's a question that gets asked all the time. And so the bottom line answer is 1 month is the earliest that you should. A lot of us would look at 2 months, but at this stage, the bottom line is I would basically say 1 month is a pat answer.
Got it. Yeah, I understand that it's late and your doctors are probably at home, but I mean, I don't think it's fair for Dr. Miscovich to tell you. I think you gotta. I'm assuming you would have to get an order from the doctor, right? Your doctor to get this.
Not necessarily. I've kind of checked on that, and basically, I think it's a pretty loose category where you basically just get to show up, and so it's
Okay, honey, did you hear that, honey?
I forgot to say one, boy, and I this is not fair that I didn't say this because definitely HIV. So HIV has to be added into that group. So that's the one I missed. That is a broad category, but otherwise the loose category in there, because some of them are really clear. Cancer is cancer, and being on steroids or those kind of medications. But there's a loose category where people may have somewhat odd medical conditions that cause you to have a lower immune system. Most of you should know those, but those are the ones you probably want to talk to your doctor about. That I don't want to be giving, broad, Facebook recommendations for which syndrome qualifies or not. But as a doctor, I would tell you, err on the side of getting it versus not getting it because it's so safe.
In other words, just show up to the clinic and let them know what your condition is. And it sounds like they're pretty flexible. So just go, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Either way, stop by one of the local restaurants in the area and support local. Buy your breakfast and go sit at the beach and go eat a nice local breakfast after you get your shot. Awesome. J&J, no booster yet. Now, the one thing they talked about, I'm sorry, Doc, I know it's past the time, but I heard on the news, it said it's not, while it's preferred to get the same type of vaccine, not counting J&J, but Pfizer or Moderna, for your booster, it is still possible to switch. I heard that on the news tonight. I was kind of surprised because it contradicts what I've heard prior, but what's the jury say on that one?
If you look at the guidance says get the same one. They're going to try to have you get the same one. Okay. If you look at what different, and I'm talking about the guidance in the United States, if you look at what's happening in different countries that are first world countries with good healthcare, they were interchanging Moderna and Pfizer. Remember, Moderna and Pfizer are the same technology, very close. And so some people would get one Pfizer, get the second one Moderna. Again, we didn't recommend that because it was not studied that what is the outcome with two of them. But now there are about 5 trials that I know of that were quite successful where J&J or AstraZeneca, which is the same thing, we don't have it here, was mixed with one shot of J&J, one shot Pfizer. Came out good. Came out where you had a nice amount of antibodies and equivalent. So that's been a question that's kind of lingering. Will there be something that we look at going on because there's the technology of how those viruses affect your body? One's an mRNA, one's a DNA. Will it give you even more longer term immunity? So we were asked that a lot in many different scenarios across the country. And in the bottom line is that if you were immunocompromised and you had a J&J, I would be telling my patient to get a Pfizer just because it's a risk-benefit decision. Are you going to take the risk? You're not going to have any side effects from that vaccine. We already seen you can get that extra shot and you're not going to have any ill side effects. But your risk is your amount of protection goes down and you get COVID and you get put in the hospital. I'd take the shot.
All right, guys, check with your doctors if you fit in that category. I took the J&J, so I mean, that's one of the questions I got from my doctor. What do I do? But wow, interesting night. I just got one thing that I do want to clarify because, like I said, we encourage engagement on the show, but I do want to call out information when it's posted. That's not that this one was that the Moderna's website says that the Moderna vaccine they're pushing a operating system into your body. That is simply not true, and I will call out false info if I see it. As far as the others, guys, like I said, I'm willing to listen to you guys as long as you don't get personal. I appreciate you guys not being personal. That's pretty cool. But I do want to call out that there is no chipping, there is no operating system being injected into your body. That's not true. So I'm not sure where that came from. The person said it was on the Moderna website. Well, I've been on the Moderna website.
The thing you got to be careful is if there is a chip and it's an Android, you might as well say goodbye to all your Apple products.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, Doc, thank you very much. Thank you. I am planning. Because this is what I have been asked to do, was to put up a panel of all of you, Doc. You and I still trying to get Dr. Tim Brown on. I did send him an email. He hasn't responded. I know he's a busy guy, but I want to get a panel of 6 or so of you guys on one show, maybe a 2-hour show, and we can talk story with all of the experts. So I will be sending an email out to you folks. That has been requested by many of our viewers. They want to see all of you at the same time, and we'll be working on that. So always appreciate.
Well, I'll tell you, I told you my go-to are I think Tim is brilliant. You guys had Lee and Jonathan Dworkin and DeWolf is a really solid epidemiologist. Those are, if you ask me who are the people that I turn to, would talk to, and sit around on a table, those are people I really.
Do me a favor and put in a good word to Tim Brown, Dr. Tim Brown, for the Mel and Charlie show. His interview on the East West Center YouTube channel was incredible, and he has made a couple appearances on the news. I just wish people would listen to him. I wish our decision makers would listen to him.
That is something I've shared that so many places. I've shared that all over because he did such a terrific job of really putting the science together and explaining each step why decisions are made and what it means. And it made it so clear for people when we talk about some of these technical things. Really great job. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you hanging out with us a little bit late. Charlie.
Yes, sir.
What's the thought of the day, my friend?
Well, I wanted to complete what I read earlier because I had a second part to it, and that is when I gave all those different dates and locations. It also says appointments are encouraged for locations on Oahu, although walk-ins are accepted. To schedule an appointment, visit hawaiipacifichealth.org/COVID-VaxS-Quad. On Kauai, vaccinations are walk-in only for the clinics for clinic dates listed above. We will announce additional vaccine location and appointment. So ladies and gentlemen watching tonight, what I read earlier, just take that for what it's worth, because we are here to push the information out to you. So if you decide based on what our expert has said tonight, err on the side of getting it, because it's probably going to be a game changer. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our good friends, Dr. Scott Miscovich from Kailua, and that beautiful part on the island of Oahu. We call it God's country out there. Thank you so much for joining us. To our viewers, thank you for the healthy conversation engagement. I know some of you still believe, and like Mel said, we invite you, as long as you don't attack anybody personally and you just state your case, we can, and I apologize if I laugh a lot, because that's part of de-escalation. Because to de-escalate, in order to de-escalate, remember, we have to escalate first. So I just want to make sure that you understand that we invite you all and we thank you all. And all I can say is I ask the good Lord to take care of each and every one of you, because we are in some troubled times and we need some divine intervention. I know that, because if our government is not going to do anything for us, besides us taking care of ourselves, we definitely will need some divine intervention, because this thing is getting very, very serious. Okay, Mel?
Thank you, sir. You're right. I say it every night, before you guys put your heads down to go to sleep, make sure you say prayers for everybody, even for our governor, our lieutenant governor, Dr. Char, all of our leaders. Pray for them, for wisdom, for strength, for courage to do the right thing. For all of our COVID patients that's sick and at home, or those that have lost loved ones. We need God's help. We do. And I'm not ashamed to say it. We need God's help. And if you don't believe in God, God bless you. But really, we need God's help. And, guys, as Charlie always says, we provide the information. You do what you want with it. We try to bring you the best, the most accurate. Some may disagree, but it is what it is. We just hope that you guys can remember, I call it the personal lockdown. We don't need the governor to really do anything. We would like him to. But if he's not going to do it, then it's up to us, and we take the responsibility and we do it ourselves, right? You guys know that. You guys know all what you got to do. Be safe, stay safe, protect your loved ones, protect your families and your friends. We love you guys. We are unless something come up, we'll pop up. But if not, we'll be back on Monday night with Mayor Harry Kim. Tuesdays, Dr. Dara O'Carroll will be making his reappearance. He has gone stealth for a while, but he will be back on Tuesday, and that is going to be a very good show. So, guys, have a great weekend. Again, stay safe. Dr. Miscovich, we love you,
Yes.
man.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
you
you for
guys.
all that you do, guys. Take care, everybody. Hello.